I'm Michelle,
And I'm Catherine,
and we're here at the Healthy Hurried Human podcast,
where we talk about keeping pace in a world that never slows down. Welcome back to the Healthy Hurried Human podcast. We are addressing our last spoke on the wheel, and it is impacting others and really focusing on volunteering work. I'm excited about this one. This is, again, something that was always modeled for me in my life. Grew up with doing a lot of volunteer work and hadn't really processed through the psychological impact that that has on a person until I went through a period where I had too much on my plate and wasn't volunteering and realized that was a very significant part of who I was that wasn't happening. And so I know what it feels like when that spoke is out of whack or can't be focused on at a moment. And I'm really excited for us to talk about that.
So this is a good place. I can't believe it. We're coming to the end of covering all the spokes on the wheel. And this is a good place for us to talk about how when we look at the wheel, it is not, I don't want any listener to feel like, gosh, I'm supposed to be focusing on everything that we've talked about, emotional, thriving, relationally thriving, inner circle, healthy relationships, empowering questions. I mean, we've covered all of these things, 8 things, in fact. And if you're listening to this and you think, I don't know how to make all of these things successful and good and positive in my life, you're not alone. And that is not the purpose of the wheel. The purpose of the wheel is when we are feeling kind of defunct in our life or something's off, or the wheel is that tool to help you figure out if you don't know what it is, because sometimes we know what it is. Relationally, I'm off. Or mentally and emotionally, there's some things going on that I have not unpacked. I need to deal with that. Or those tend to be the most obvious for people to know. But sometimes we feel off or defunct and we can't quite, where is it coming from? Where am I lacking? And so the wheel is there to kind of help guide us to the proper place that needs attention, right? And so this is a good one for us to talk about in the sense that volunteer impact there's not always a place in our life where we can put a lot of attention to it because of the season that we're in. And we're going to come back around to that in a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and answer the question I know you're burning to ask, which is what exactly is it? How do we define it? I define it as it's being thoughtful of others and applying life purpose for the betterment of our community. It's making contributions to the world outside of ourselves. That's Michelle's in a box, how I defined being impactful. And we purposely talked about life purpose in episode 5 before we would get to this one, because I think in order to really get fulfillment and joy and to get the impact of contributing to the world outside of ourselves, we have to at least have started that journey on our purpose, our life purpose, that overall purpose, the thing that sparks us, that we see our value. And so impacting others is us taking some of that. Maybe we still don't have clarity on fully what it is, but we're doing that journey and we're saying, I know I can contribute to the world around me.
One of the self-mastery questions that Marcus Buckingham talked about in Love Plus Work is, he phrases it, what would you do for free? Like, where are you showing up and where are you willing to give your time or your money or your effort for without being paid?
Yes.
And he was talking about it in the context of discovering what ways that you can love your job and what you do and the importance of having those experiences in the workplace. But it really resonated with me about volunteering and what would you do for free is a really great way to say, wow, when you look back, you can see a theme in how you've been showing up and doing that in your life. And it always correlates to your purpose.
It's really true. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm going to throw you off here for a second, but
love it.
I was thinking, because you say that a lot and you talk about that. What would you do for free? And I was laughing at myself. We all know I love a particular convenience store. And I was in,
Shout out to Wawa.
I didn't know if we were allowed to do that. So we don't have
It's free
those here,
advertising for
but
them.
I was in QT, which is around here, around in our area. And there was some, when I'm in a Wawa, I find myself being very helpful to strangers because I love it so much. And I really want them to have a true,
Excellent customer service
a
experience.
Wawa experience because I'm like, I want them to know what they're going to get here. Well, then the other day I realized, I'm like, you love the convenience. You love a convenience store because I'm in QT, which I think is, well, we should be not, I love QT. I love QP. They're just not Wawa. And I'm in there and there's some people in there and QT has done a great job of this, their drink section. And there's two people. I got to help two people have a
my
better
word.
experience. And I left there laughing because I'm like, I would do this for free. And I thought about you because I'm like, what is that? So I get in the car and I tell my husband, and I'm like, I love that so much that I want people to enjoy their QT experience. And it made their day. It really made their day that I was being helped. I was like, here's how you do this. Because the guy couldn't figure out how to get the coffee he likes. And then the lady was, I helped this lady get the drink she wanted. And I was just so happy. It made me so happy. And I helped them. And I thought, what is that about me that I'm like, I would do this for free if they literally were like, would you come and be an ambassador for us? I'm like, yes, I would.
I used to have
But I love helping people.
in the late 90s, I think early 2000s, I had a red, like sleeveless red sweater vest. And my joke was, don't wear that to Target.
Right.
But I would find people, if people ask me questions in a Target, I am very willing to help you and give you directions. It's less than saying I'm not here. If I can help them, I'll help them. And but don't. I was going to ask you if you were wearing a red shirt that day at Quick Trip.
They didn't think I worked there. I just could. I offer my help without them asking,
Right.
and it's like I was trying to figure it out because I'm like, yeah, I know I like to help people, but it's more than that. And it comes to my house. I love hospitality, and it's like I love convenience stores so much. I love the community about we could go on and on. I think I've made a Facebook post about the things you like about a convenience store. It's the Cheers mentality, it's the fact that I wanted them. It would make me feel bad to know they left not having a good experience because. Really and truly, a convenience store, when you're going in, not just for gas or whatever, you're going in for something, you should have a good experience. It should make you feel good. It's a highlight, it's a small joy. And that's what it is for me. Okay, I want to bring this back as to why is this on the wheel?
You're right. That did derail me. Okay, let's get back
so
on
why
the track.
is this on the wheel? Do not edit any of that. I loved every minute of it.
Word.
But why is it on the wheel? It is on the wheel because science, you started out by saying there's a lot of science behind this. Science shows us that being charitable minded aids and helps us in our depression and loneliness. And honestly, on the wheel, this is the strongest function because we call these key functional indicators the wheel. This is the strongest function on the wheel to keep us from being self-absorbed. Completely self-absorbed, which if we want to like pull that down even further, self-absorption leads to the destructive thoughts and feelings and behaviors. When we become self-absorbed, we turn to destructive thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And so that is why contributing to our community outside of ourselves is a key functional indicator on the wheel.
Mm-hmm. It's so significant. I referenced this earlier in a different podcast about Mike Rowe's Facebook group that he was doing. It was back during the time of COVID and after COVID, they were releasing it on Facebook, where he would find people who were impacting their communities. That started as a volunteer effort. And I've just lost the name of the show, but you would see the impact that it would have, and it would usually come from a passion project or just, and it was always just volunteering. And it, paying things forward. You get a good feeling when you help somebody. There's a hilarious Friends episode about, is everything really ever done that's selfless? And
Right, because we get a dopamine
because
hit
we get
from
a
it.
dopamine hit, but yet it's okay to get that type of a dopamine hit.
It is,
Like,
absolutely.
that's just because you also benefit from it doesn't mean that that's okay.
I mean, it's better to give than receive. We've all heard that probably our whole life because there is such benefit to the giver. So, I mean, that's there for a reason, and it's okay. It is okay.
I watched I watched teenagers who maybe were struggling with being accepted or being embraced work with younger kids volunteer with younger kids, and they are rock stars.
Oh, yeah.
And the relationship there, whether it's like the older cousin and the younger cousin, or the volunteering with Sunday school, or volunteering with a school with the younger kids, where you have the kids from high school come down and work with the younger kids. There is always a space for you to impact someone else, and that builds value. You begin to understand how you add value to the world.
Yes, that is, I'm so glad, because I'm sitting here listening to you going, we get so much we learn about ourselves and the world when we operate outside of our bubble and our community, or into our community.
It is such an important thing, and we shouldn't diminish it. Because there's so many things that get dopamine hits in our society right now with the scrolling, and AI has figured out, and
That
scientists
isn't
have figured out.
contributing to the betterment of anybody else.
What the studies have shown is that the hours you spend scrolling or looking at social media, you walk away feeling more depressed.
Yeah.
That can happen if you're going into situations that are depressing or hard, but there is something inside of you that says, wow, you did a really good job today. You impacted others today. Like I said earlier in a different podcast, my mother always wanted to leave people smiling that she encountered along the way, and looking someone in the eye, you restore a dignity. I'm going to jump ahead.
Yeah.
Usually we do book recommendations at the end, but in preparing for today, I wanted to study up on this one book. Michelle and I had the privilege to hear Steve Palmer speak at a day training we went to, and he has written a book called Say Grace.
Oh, I love it.
And he is he's in the hospitality industry. He's a chef, an entrepreneur when it comes in restaurants, and has multiple accolades and things that he has developed and started. But this book is his personal story, and he's very vulnerable in it about his experiences and how the hospitality industry saved his life. And because of that, he has put in multiple ways to give back. And he's involved in the City of Refuge, which is based here in Atlanta, and very involved in helping people who don't have a career path, who need a new start, get involved in the restaurant industry. And he has developed is it called Indigo House, Indigo Road? Well,
Yep. No, you're right.
That is it's a restaurant hospitality model, and did a lot of work with people who are addicts in that industry, and helping people and giving space in that community to be broken and find healing.
I believe he actually picks communities. We spent time talking to him. He, I think, picks communities that will benefit from his restaurant being there. I think that's one of the things he does, is when he decides where are we going to put it, is he picks places where it's like, we will be causing this community to do better or to thrive because of our presence. And that's kind of a driving focus for him. It's a great book. It's a great story. He's really impressive. So definitely, if you get a chance to listen to it, Say Grace by Steve Palmer.
He's got a podcast, which I just
Steve
discovered. One of the things that stood out to me is he said that I'm in the hospitality business, but my first customer are my employees.
That's right.
And he feeds his employees. And I wrote this down, that he said exceptional service begins with well cared for employees.
That's right.
And Michelle and I just both looked at each other. I mean, I cried listening to this man speak. It was so impactful. It's so on our brand and understanding.
Because one of the things you and I said is, do you understand what would happen to every industry if employers and companies took this same approach? Do we understand? I mean, I don't think we could even comprehend how, take it into your industry, whether you're in hospitality or you're in, law enforcement, education, the medical industry, attorneys. If you took that heartbeat, I feel like, into your industry and said, this is where it just.
So I want to transition us then to another thing that he talks about in his philosophy.
I think we're going to have to see if we can get him on.
Okay. Just his philosophy is that when companies support volunteering, they are saying that what they care about matter. They are saying, we care about what matters to you, not just what you produce.
That's right.
And that was another,
this is why this matters at work.
This is why this matters at work. This is why it is important that companies have volunteer efforts, support volunteer efforts. This is my
create opportunities.
This is my real hard transition into let's talk about it at work.
Yeah, no, it's a real important. This is vital on our key functional indicator wheel. This is vital when it comes to the workplace. I haven't said that about too many of the others. They're important. This one I think is vital. And here's my reason. Here's my number one reason why it's vital. You have 2 generations. We have 4 generations present in the workforce. If you haven't heard me say this, that's something that's unprecedented. We have never seen 4 generations in the workforce at the same time like we do right now. 2 of those generations, the millennials as a generation values serving other people, so their charity and their impact is through, let me get my hands dirty, let me serve. That is the millennial generation who are going to be in the workforce for quite a long time now. But the newest generation, Gen Z, it matters to them what you're doing with your money. What are you doing with your money, and are you being charitable? It matters to them. They will take jobs, and we're going to get into this in season 2 about Gen Z, but they will take a job or turn down a job based on the charitable leaning of a company. Could be their perfect job, but if that company, if Gen Z as a generation, obviously, so if they see a company and they don't have a reputation for being charitable and giving an impact, they won't take that job. Mm-hmm. That may not matter to some people now yet, but it's going to matter in 10 years.
It is. I remember when I first started working with millennials, I noticed that they would show up and give their time, and they would give their effort. And when I was interviewing them, I learned this at an NCEO conference again. What we were learning is that they want to know that what they do matters. Mm-hmm. They want impact. And if I can get a line of sight to show them how their job, which may be crunching numbers in an office building or being at corporate, or they weren't necessarily the ones that were on the construction site. But if I could show a line of sight to how what they did impacted the construction site, impacted not just the bottom line, but impacted the rest of the company, that had value to them. They want to know they made a difference. And the other thing I was learning about the Gen Zers is they want things to be just and fair. Mm-hmm. And so it cannot be lip service. And there's a book I thought I had it with me and I would have shown it to you. By the way, just a little sidebar note, we have been physically displaying the books off camera in every episode and didn't realize that they were off camera in every episode. Sorry about that. We had the physical books in that we kept, and I would like turn and point to them. So if you're thinking I'm crazy, it's because I might have been. But little miscue there on my part. But it's called Conscious Capitalism. It's on my nightstand. I'm currently reading it. It is a fascinating conversation about what responsibility companies have and the shift that changed in capitalism when it became only pleasing a shareholder for some companies and the difference between shareholder and stakeholder. This is a book that I want to be in a book club about. I want to chew over the content about it, but it really does point out the impact that companies need to be conscious of their own employees and not just the shareholder. That companies should have a higher purpose that goes beyond making money. And listen, these younger generations are going to figure out if that's lip service or not.
That's right. And that is really the key here is it may not matter to you because maybe your workforce is exactly the way you want it to be right now, but that will shift. I mean, I think most people, if they're running a business, know that can shift at any given time. But there is going to come a time where it's not just a shift, time. You're going to have two generations leaving the workforce in the next 10 to 15 years. And the two generations that are going to be running your workforce are these two generations that this is a key value for them. It's very important. I think we've given some really good reading to do or
Right.
Listen, grab these books, listen to them if you like to listen to your books. Conscious Capitalism by who wrote that?
Don't ask.
Okay.
Oh,
Conscious
gosh.
Capitalism. It's okay. And then Say Grace by Steve Palmer.
I can picture his initials.
It's okay.
So the other thing that I would conscious capital. No, I think that's the guy who started Whole Foods. If I'm right about that, he was the precursor that
Possibly
started Whole Foods. It's a problem when I'm reading multiple books at the same time, but I think that's his story. I don't think that's. Well, it's a good thing. This is it's kind of like I used to be a school teacher, and the last day of school, in a semester or at the end of the year, I mean, it was just parties, chaos, cookies. It's our last podcast of season 1. And, yes, I think the gentleman who started Whole Foods, that's who it is. So things are flying. Book stands are falling apart. I can't remember the name of the book title that I should have had, which is another reason why we would have it on display, because then we could just read the name. But I would like to also say that we are, I can't remember now what I was going to say because I just sidetracked. I hope we edit this out.
We want to thank you for joining us in season 1 of the Healthy Hurried Human podcast. We look forward to seeing you and hearing from you in season 2 that will be out not too long from now. The Healthy Hurried Human podcast is presented by Foxygen Consulting. At Foxygen, we provide business and performance psychology and consulting. We believe healthier people make a healthier workplace. Foxygen Consulting, breathing new life into your organization.